right. First topic. Career progressions.
Well, obviously Bucky is the best choice here.
Or Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, man.
Chick-fil-A manager.
Serious career progression.
That's a real profession.
That's very serious.
Would,
why
would
are
you
you
want
laughing?
your daughter working at Bucky's?
If it's like
If she's making 230 grand
Yeah,
a year,
that's
sure. But she has
No.
get
That's the Bucky's
She's got to be the manager.
store manager
Yeah.
position, okay? This is not Bucky's entry level. So,
how do you get there?
You got to work your way up, though, right?
How about
Do
the
they hire?
Chick-fil-A store manager?
the four career progressions that people requested were the following. One, the medical career progression. We have a doc here who's going to walk us through how that works.
Sure.
There's two around banking and consulting, which are pretty popular career progressions coming out of college. And of course, you have your tech ladder career progression that
So these are basically like all the
yeah.
high-paying careers.
You think it's
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly high-paying, yeah. Although the legal profession's being left out here.
So
I guess,
legal is being left out. Dentistry is being left out. There's a couple of
First of all, we don't know anything
Washington
about those.
lobbyist is left out.
the whole government thing is being left out. But like, don't be a lawyer. Lawyers are lame.
Yeah, all the lawyers I know hate it, to be honest.
Dentists are okay, but assuming you like staring into somebody's like mouth for 8 hours a day.
Well, it's pretty much the same career progression as medical school, though. So
Yeah. So let's start with medical.
start with medical. Okay.
How does it work? Like if I'm a 15-year-old, 14-year-old kid thinking about maybe one day I want to be a doctor.
Yeah. Well, 15, I would say it's pretty early if you're 15 to decide what you want to do. Like a lot of people won't figure it out till they go to college, or they might not figure it out till after college. And so the good thing about the medical profession is you do have some time to figure it out. Like if you don't know that's what you want to do right away, you have a lot of time to catch up. Even if you didn't, even after college, you could still go to medical school. Even if you didn't take all the standard med school classes, there's ways to still get back on that path.
So does it matter what undergrad you apply for? Imagine you want to be a doctor. Like which undergrad programs should you be thinking about?
So, if you go to a very good top tier school, it certainly is easier to get from that school into a medical school, as long as you have reasonably good grades, meaning, you've made cum laude at your college or better, or at about that level. It's not for, every school is going to be a little different, but if you're in like the top, third of your school, you'll probably be fine as far as grades go.
So A's and B's are okay in college?
Yeah, A's are obviously preferable.
Yeah.
If your GPA is like 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and you're at a like good school, like you should be okay as long as your MCAT, which is the test that people take to get into medical school, as long as your MCAT scores are competitive.
Yeah.
So
What types of classes do you need to take
so basically
in undergrad?
So if you want to go straight from college, you have to take like the medical school prerequisite classes, which will usually be like basic biology, anatomy, chemistry, organic chemistry, which is the most pain in the behind class in the
Orgo.
universe.
The bane of many people's existence.
Yeah. Basic, physics, calculus. So you do have to take like basics, like the basic science intro stuff. You don't really have to go that deep into any of those subjects. Like you don't have to be like an astrophysicist or like an expert chemist, but you do have to understand like the basics of all that in order to apply to medical school. Although they are changing all these requirements soon, so we'll see.
The MCATs, when do you take the MCATs? Junior year or senior year?
So you could take it actually whenever. Technically, you could take it after college even. I took it after college personally.
Okay.
Yeah, but you'll want to put some time into studying for that. But sure, if you have so they're testing you on the stuff that you took prerequisites for.
Yeah.
So you'll want to finish your prerequisites.
What's the
before
top score for MCAT?
It would be a 45.
45.
Yeah,
and what do you need to like squeeze by?
So it used to be they would say 30 plus should be okay. You'll get into some kind of medical school. But there's this thing like grade inflation where like the test prep gets better every year.
Yeah.
And so that score is maybe creeped up a little bit from 30. If you
What did you get, if you don't mind sharing with the group?
I think I got like a 34 or something.
34.
Like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
Nothing. Yeah, I didn't like blow it away,
Yeah.
but that's considered like back in my ancient era. That was
Yeah,
considered
like 45 years ago.
Yeah, like 45 years ago. Yeah, that was considered a competitive score back then. It was considered a good score.
Yeah.
In this era, it may be just like an acceptable score now.
Yeah.
I would say.
Do you immediately get into medical school, or do people like take 2 years or 1 year and do some research?
Yeah. So if
Somewhere else.
if you're not sure what you want to do after college, sometimes it's a good idea to just work for like 1 or 2 years while you're taking your MCATs.
Work
or while
where
just
though?
figuring
Like
out.
work at?
You could do literally anything you want, but in general, in order to get into medical school, you
Yeah.
want to show. You probably want to do a job that shows that you do care about medicine in some aspect.
So not gas station attendee.
So perhaps not gas station attendee. I mean, you could do gas station attendee if they're paying you well.
Yeah.
And then just go volunteer at like a research lab
hospital,
or
yeah.
a hospital or something to show that you actually know something about the healthcare profession.
How
at
much
least
do
a
they
little
care
bit.
about extracurricular?
It is a big thing. They
Oh,
want to show
really?
like you've been committed, like, and preferably you've been committed for a while, meaning it's not like 2 months before you decide to apply to med school, you start volunteering at the emergency room. It's like, yeah, like if you've shown like you've been volunteering for like 4 years in different medical things, then it certainly helps. It shows that you're more dedicated to it, because sometimes what they really want is not just that you're intelligent and obviously able to score well on a test, but that you're like quite dedicated
Right.
to medicine, because it's going to be rough. Medical school is going to be rough. It's a pain. And then you're going to have to suffer through residency.
College GPA plus classes plus this MCAT thing plus some extracurriculars. You apply,
Yeah.
and then is this when the match happens or no?
No, when you apply, well, the match is for
Oh, I'm
residency.
sorry.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
medical school
Yeah,
itself.
this is medical school. Medical school is just like applying to college.
another
same
college.
thing.
Another
Yeah,
college. How many years is medical school?
yeah. It's another 4 years.
Another 4 years.
Yeah, so it's literally
Holy
like you're going to
cow.
college again.
Another 4 years.
But
What
for-
do you
for
do
medicine.
during those 4 years? Is it the same?
So they're changing it up now.
Yeah.
It used to be that the first 2 years were just like basic classwork.
Yeah.
But then they found that what happened is, and then the third and fourth years, you're in the hospital. You're actually putting the stuff you've learned
In which
into
hospital?
practice.
Like the hospital that?
You'll go around to different hospitals
Yeah.
most of the time. Typically, most medical schools will have one main hospital.
I see.
But it's different for every medical school, and some medical schools may not have that, and so you're just at random hospitals in
Got
a
it.
geographic region.
Got it. So at the end of medical school, you take more tests.
Yeah, at the end of medical school, throughout medical school. Yeah, so
There's like step
typically-
one.
Yeah, so typically after
What
the
is that?
first 2
Yeah.
years, which like I said, are mostly classwork,
Right.
you traditionally would take step one, and that's like testing you on the, I guess like the basic medical knowledge, and then usually after you've done some of your clinical practice stuff, you'll take what's called step two, and there's two parts. There's like a clinical part and there's like a test part, but that'll test you more on like practical knowledge.
Are these actual tests, like paper tests, or are they like
So one is a
in-person?
paper test or a computer test rather now. They don't do paper tests anymore. Yeah.
Did you
we
do
sound
paper
so
tests?
outdated.
Did you do paper tests?
I did paper.
Yeah, you
for
did paper
step
tests.
one. I did. I did computer for step two.
Oh, okay. So you're not that old.
Yeah, it was optional though. It was like the first year they rolled it
Yeah,
out.
it was on like
Yeah.
Netscape Navigator, right?
Yeah. I am that old. Yes. Back in my day, we
Yeah.
were the first people to use the computer. We were like, "What is this box? What is this keyboard?"
So the second part of step two, you're saying somebody actually
Yeah. They
Observes.
have an actor playing a patient.
no.
Yeah, in like a fake clinic, and you have to
Can,
go.
can I play that patient? I kind of want to play that patient.
Well, you have to be poked and prodded.
Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah. You have to be willing to be poked and prodded. Yeah.
By medical school students.
Yeah, by med school students. Yeah, because you have to do the exam.
Like a real
Whatever
needle?
your
Like they're gonna inject you or something.
no, like
Oh.
if your thing was like, I think I have prostate cancer, then you gotta
Oh.
No.
yeah, you gotta go through the whole thing.
No.
Yeah.
So there's actors
They're actors
who
for
gets anal probed
they're actors for the prostate exam.
for
They're actors
What?
for the pelvic exam. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
This is definitely worse than Bucky's.
And you probably don't get paid as much as Bucky.
I think
How
they
much
actually
do you
get paid pretty well.
to get
Oh, okay.
probe in the ass?
They're called being a standardized patient. I don't know
He's-
how much you get paid for the
This
prostate.
is fascinating.
And
This
you
is
do that,
absolutely
and you do that
fascinating.
every single day, get probe.
In the ass.
Well, that's not always the exam we're
okay.
doing, okay? We only
Okay.
teach, they teach the prostate exam during one part of the year.
Okay,
That's the
got
time
it.
you get probed, okay?
By like 10, 15 students.
Yes. The medical
Yeah,
students
bro.
do not constantly just probe butts.
Yeah, bro, 15. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
This is the stuff you learn on this podcast.
Yeah, this is I'm learning stuff.
Or that's-
Yeah, this is
yeah,
fascinating.
that's new.
So
The
yeah, if you're
standardized
interested
patient.
in that career progression, go to your nearest medical school
Yeah.
and just tell them you would like to be put in the roster, the pool, to be a standardized patient.
for colorectal surgeons.
You're gonna tell them you only want to do the
It's like
prostate
I
exam?
only want colorectal procedures.
That's not, I don't think that's a career path.
It is a career path. I don't know if it's the most comfortable career path. But,
Stop laughing. You gotta
all right,
respect
this is
those
what
people.
happens- This is what happens when he busts out the whiskey.
there should be more. There should be more whiskey
Hey,
on
you
this
should be more
podcast.
respectful.
Respectful of the protocol.
of like all professions.
Oh, I am respectful.
Stop laughing.
You know,
I'm not
it's very
laugh-
helpful that these people
Yeah.
volunteered to do this,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and it was very nice. It's very cool
Yeah.
that
No,
these people do it.
Without those people, you will not have doctors.
Yeah, with that, well, no, we would just have learned on regular patients for the first time, but it wouldn't have been as nice for the actual patients. So it's good that, there are people willing to be standardized patients for medical students to fuck up the first time. you know?
Interesting.
So that's cool.
How about like learning how to inject
So we used to actually learn on each other.
Oh, shit.
You would learn how to draw blood and
on each other?
Yeah, on each other.
It's like, ouch.
Oh no! Before they had standardized patients,
Oh.
med students would do the prostate exams and things like that.
On
On each
other?
other?
Yes, that's how you
Oh, wow.
bonded. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, back in the day, you go ask any older doc. That's
Oh,
what they
okay.
did. They practiced on each other for like everything, like seriously weird stuff.
You know, like calling lost Kabir or like.
No, we
so-
did back in the
okay.
day. You didn't do that.
Okay, all right.
Like,
So you pass
it would hurt.
the second part of step 2,
Yeah.
and then this is when you like go around interviewing at different hospitals itself.
Yeah, so then after you've passed all that, you finished, now it's your 4th year of medical school. You're going to apply for your residencies. You're going to figure out, hey, where do I want to... And I would say for this part, actually, there's some advice is, if you've gotten to this step, you're in medical school, really think about where you want to live long-term and work long-term. Because a lot of times, wherever you do your residency training, it's much easier to get a job as an attending if you know everything. Getting a job anywhere is about who you know a lot of the time. And so if they know who you are and they know you do reasonably good work and you're not like a crackpot, they're much more likely to hire you than if you're some rando showing up that they don't know whether you actually know what you're doing. So
It's about that relationships,
yeah.
about that guanxi.
Yeah, that guanxi.
That guanxi, yeah.
But it's just a practical thing. People, you're a known quantity. So if you're competent and you're a hard worker and you want to live in New York City, then you should pick a residence in New York City if that's where you want to be long term. And if you want to live in Orlando,
So it's it's the
come here.
So step 1, there's a score. Step 2, part 1, there's a score. Step 2, part 2, also a score of some kind.
Yeah.
And then are there essays on top of this?
They used to have an essay component in the MCAT. To
MCAT
get
version.
into medical school.
What about
They got rid of
residency?
it. There are no essays.
But there are interviews.
There are interviews, yeah, and when you apply, you'll write like why you wanna. It's just like
Normal
apply
stuff.
to anything, yeah.
And then this is the match, right? Like every year, sometimes on Facebook, you'll see people holding up
Right.
letters saying, "Hey, I matched."
Yeah.
How does that thing work?
Well, basically, after you've done all your interviews with every program that you want to go to, they'll rank you. Like they'll rank every interviewee that they interviewed, like from like 1 to however many hundred, and then you'll do the same thing. You'll rank, the order of programs, like in your order of preference, And then the computer will try to make you theoretically as happy as possible.
Yeah.
So like if a program likes you and you like them, you'll just end up there.
there's a centralized system. It's not like school by school.
Yeah, it's centralized. Yeah.
Oh.
Across the United States.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like a computerized system, which is actually, I think it's in general a good thing because it tries to get everybody to go somewhere instead of like, because otherwise you have this problem where like the program obviously going to accept all the top people.
And
But the top people are not going to go to some random program.
That's kind of like undergraduate.
Yeah, the undergraduate's like it's more chaotic, right?
Right.
Because then you're on the wait list, and then you don't know how many people are on this wait list, and you may or may not get off it, and you're like, "Am I going to be a doctor?" Like, I don't.
So you match after you match, the residency starts. How long is residency, and how much do you get paid doing residency?
Well, so the pay varies depending on the hospital
Sure.
you're going to, so it's hard to say. You're making, nowadays probably like 60, 70, 80,000, something like that.
Holy cow, that is pretty low.
I mean, it's not.
But it will get
not
better
that
after the
horrible, yeah.
residency.
Wait,
right?
wait,
It used to be a lot worse.
How long is residency?
So it varies. The shortest residencies are 3 years,
3 years.
and they can go up to,
So
5+.
You're telling me I'm doing 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, 3 years residency. That's 11 years of my life.
Right, that's the minimum. Yeah, and
That's
then
the minimum.
and then they have residencies. They have some surgical residencies. I'll go to 5 as integrated, meaning you're doing a specialization plus the basic surgery stuff. But then there's another option, which is to like after your basic residency, you'll do a fellowship to train more to become a specialist. So
Yeah.
then that'll add another 2 to 3 years.
That's a lot.
So we're about like 15 years in at this point.
You could be
16 years
close
in.
to, no, is it 16 years. Oh, that's only if you want to be like a neurosurgeon or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like really, really intensively trained. Yeah.
So going back to Chef's question, when does your pay skyrocket? After residency?
Yeah. After residency, you're paid basically triple.
Should you
overnight,
just
or more?
choose like a shorter residency then?
Well, so here's the thing. Obviously, the shorter ones, after you finish training, the salaries are not going to be as high as in general. There's obviously exceptions to everything, but rule of thumb, the shorter residencies will not. You're not going to make as much as the longer residencies because in order to get people to go through those long residencies for crap pay, like you have to pay people more at the end of the tunnel.
Who is paying
compensate.
more? Are you gonna be staying at the same hospital or are you going to a new one?
So that's what I'm saying. Like you could try to get a job at your hospital and it'll be easier if
Right.
they know you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But then you could get a job anywhere.
I see.
Obviously, you just have to get the job.
Let's talk about pay ranges. So family doctor, what's the average?
Well, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head,
just in general.
but it'd be around like 200 grand these
200 grand?
days. Yeah, maybe a little under in some. So it's also very regional is the other thing.
Right.
So doctors in like rural Texas
Make less.
make more actually.
Make more?
They make a lot more
Wait, what?
than doctors in like New York City
Because your
because there's actually
cost of living is lower.
no.
the
you
actual
you
dollar
make more
amount is
actual
actually-
dollars. Yeah.
Oh, is it supply and demand?
It's supply. Yeah. It's all like there's too
Interesting.
many people want to live. Too many people who make 6-figure salaries want to live in a nice city,
Got it.
and so all the nice cities to live in, the doctors makes less money.
oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's sort of
It's
the
like
inverse. Yeah,
The quality, it's like
The cost of living is
cost
higher.
of living is higher,
You're-
but you're making less.
yeah.
You're
So
making
if
less,
you're a
yeah.
doctor in New York City, you sometimes may be a little angry at the unfairness of this setup.
with,
but-
with internal, sorry, not internal medicine. With so family doctor is like 200. Internal medicine is where?
So internal medicine tends to run a little higher than that because even though you can also be a primary care doctor and make pretty much the same salary, you can also work in a hospital. And then, so in some regions, I will say family doctors can also work in hospitals.
Right.
But in more competitive metros, they want the internal medicine training.
Right.
So again,
250 or 200?
None of these are like hard rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could make more like 250, 300,
300,
as
okay.
a hospital doctor.
Let's keep on dermatology.
If you're really hard work, you can make more.
Are you like is dermatology even more higher paid?
Dermatology makes a lot more.
A lot more.
Oh,
Well,
really?
Here's the thing. You'll look at these, and the med students out there. You could look up the salary surveys.
Yeah.
But like you'll see these median numbers, but the dermatologists on average don't work as many hours.
Ah.
So you'll see these like median salaries that aren't super high. But if you're a dermatologist who's working like really hard, you would make a lot more money.
Like 500, 600?
You could make like 400 or 500.
400 or 500?
Pretty easy.
What about like the upper echelon? The brain surgeon. Is that the upper, like what's the upper echelon?
Upper echelon.
Like the crazy specialist.
Like the spine, ortho spine guys.
Ortho spine guys.
What is
like
ortho spine?
neurosurgeons. They're like they're the
orthopedics.
orthopedic doctors that work on the spine. So those surgeries are much more complicated than, you know, doing like a hip
A
replacement or
mole removal.
something. Those mole removals pay well though. You, know?
You do a lot more mole removals than spine surgery.
A proper mole removal requires another fellowship after a dermatology
No,
residency.
what?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let's for the audience, like the upper echelon, we're talking about
Cancer removal, sorry.
what, 1 million?
You
800?
can make $1 million, yeah.
Yeah, 700, 800.
Is that the
900?
top or even more?
Can you make multi-millions?
There are very rare instances. Don't go into medicine expecting to make multiple millions a year. Okay, there are people who have done it. You know, there's a very specialized specialty called dermatopathology.
Ooh.
You could
What's
get
that?
into. So you're a dermatologist that also specializes in the pathology of the skin, or you're a pathologist who managed to get into the same field. You have to, you know, it's again another fellowship to get into.
Interesting.
And then, but only the guys at the very top make that money, pretty much.
So when you're in the hospital, how do you climb up the ranks?
Oh boy,
Like how do you
It's all
become
like,
Dr. Cuddy in-house?
you have to. It's terrible. You have to go to all these meetings, and then you're gonna say, "Here's how we're gonna improve quality in this hospital. I want to study this method of improving this random
Patient
thing."
care.
Well, sometimes it's patient care. Sometimes it's how happy the patients are.
Interesting.
Sometimes it's whatever.
So you go to meetings and then what happens?
And then you propose your idea.
And then what happens?
You like put it to work. You go talk with all the nursing heads to get them to buy into your plan.
Sounds like MBA. What,
Yeah.
Is there doctors with MBA that does this?
There are. And then there's also masters of hospital administration where you focus on all this stuff. Yeah.
Do you need those degrees to get there?
It's helpful, yeah. And a lot of hospitals will, if you're working for them, they will pay for you to go get those
Do like
degrees.
the CEOs or the heads of these hospitals, are they typically like doctors, or do they somehow like cut the line?
No, they're
and-
usually like successful MBAs who know a lot of important people.
But those MBAs
The system
need
is rigged.
doctor. Do they have a doctorate degree?
The heads?
Yeah,
No.
the heads.
No.
Oh, really?
So the CEO doesn't have to be a doctor.
No.
They're just good at
they're normally
operating.
doctors, though.
No, there's a lot of hospital heads that are not doctors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, your journey ends as like a specialist who is like top of your field, and you're making 700, 800, 900K a year. Is that where the destination ends for this career progression?
For most people want to be a doctor and you want to make bank, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is not a good reason to put yourself through this. But let's say that's what you wanted. Then yes, becoming a specialist in a high paying specialty who just works and makes, 400 to 800 grand a year. And by the way, it is very rare to make 700, 800 grand a year. So that look, they actually have this, they did a study of like doctors and their net worth by age.
Yeah.
And it's very sad because there's like a quarter of doctors over the age of 65 who are worth less than 1 million net worth.
No.
Yeah. So just don't go into medicine assuming that you will be that 800 grand a year doctor unless you're like,
This is enlightening information.
unless
wow.
you're like number one at Harvard or something and you're incredibly confident in yourself, just do not.
So lesson learned: if you like money, don't be a doctor.
If you want to make 7 figures a year, it's extremely difficult as a physician to do that. It is possible. You could also just be very entrepreneurial as a doctor.
And start your own clinic. And
Yeah, you start
that
your
path,
own
yeah.
practice and you start hiring other doctors and like MPs and PAs to work under you and you scale it. Then yeah, you could make a ton of money. Like, or even you could, there's the guy who founded One Medical was a doctor. And
Yeah.
he sold it to Amazon. They went public and they sold it to Amazon. And obviously he's worth, 9-10 figures. But that's because he's a good entrepreneur, not because he went to medical school.
Right.
All right.